Dear Tess, what are some of the best partner or group writing activities that you have ever done with other people? Since I teach, I'm always looking for ways for students to work together, share ideas, and expand journaling. I have quite a few methods, but I'm always searching for more. Thank you. Hi Greg, thanks for writing in. The first one that comes to mind is Exquisite Corpse. If you've never done this, basically the premise is you would take one piece of paper and one person would write a line of poetry or a line of a story. It works really well with poetry, so I recommend for poetry. Write a line and then they fold over the paper so that the next person can't see what the line they wrote was. And then the next person would write another line and they again would fold it over so the next person can't read their line. And it would go around until the end of the page, and by the end of the page, you have a poem or a story if you do a fiction version. Some people do it where you can actually see the line just before yours. I like complete blindness when I'm doing Exquisite Corpse. I think it makes it a little more interesting. It's great if people can add different parts of sentences. So like if it's like a clause as opposed to a complete sentence. So that's really fun. It's really collaborative, and sometimes people produce really interesting, beautiful things that just flow in wonderfully together. I volunteered with a poetry group local to me, and we did this with high schoolers, and it was super fun, and the kids came up with really amazing poems. You can do it where there's a theme for it, so that can make it a little more cohesive. So for that exercise we did, I think the theme was autumn, and the poems were really beautiful, and having the theme allowed more cohesion. Random ones are fine too. I think there is a kind of collective consciousness where people pull from similar things, so I think it works with or without a theme. Another one that I don't know if I've ever done something like this is kind of similar to Exquisite Corpse. But if you have a pair of students, one person writes a line and the other person writes a line on a page, and they exchange pages, and they have to individually follow through to create microfiction piece or a poem just from that one line that the other person created. That way it is a collaboration. It's a little more individualistic than the Exquisite Corpse exercise. Another thing you can try is have everyone in the class write a word or a subject, maybe a noun or an adjective, on a piece of paper. Fold all the pieces of paper up, put them in a bowl, and then everyone takes one of the pieces of paper, and if you go with like a subject, then they have to write something going off that one word. Or if it's an adjective, then they have to incorporate it in whatever they write. Now I'm thinking more individualistic one, so sorry, I'm going a little sideways with this next one. But another exercise I enjoyed in poetry classes, I think I've done it in a couple different poetry classes, but I know I did it in one class with McKeel McBride, who's an amazing poetry professor, used to teach at UNH, and she had a poem we were writing, and we had to write the opposite of each word in the poem. So you could do that with your students, where they could bring in a poem and then they could write the opposite of the word, each word in the poem, so then they're creating an inversion poem essentially. I'm just gonna pull a random line from like William Carlos Williams. So much depends on a red wheelbarrow. It could be very little supports a blue puddle. I don't know, that's terrible inversion, but there's an inversion example. So then it's trying to choose the opposite of the word, of each word in the poems. You could do this as a group actually, if you had a poem that everyone in like a 3-person group was inverting, and that could be interesting to see how 3 different people invert the same poem. Or you can do it where each person brings in their own poem. If you did the groups, you could have different poems for each group. I'm just assuming all your groups are little triangles like this. I think those are some good group activities to start. Those were the first ones that came to mind for me. Thanks so much for writing in, Greg. Thank you everyone as well for listening in. If you want to have your own email responded to in a video, please follow the Google form link below. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.